It's more like you're just
True.
trying to get by, like all of us, Dan. Like all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and also living up to the brand, which is the Unready Room.
It's what
And
we do.
welcome everybody. We're here in the Unready Room, almost ready to talk about Star Trek Prodigy, the 9th episode, A Moral Star Part 1. And with me, of course, is Brandi Jackola. Brandi, how are you doing today?
I am a little sluggish, but I am well. I am well. So,
Oh, a little sluggish. That feels like
yeah.
it could really describe a lot of how I've been lately.
This whole week, I feel like I've been trapped in molasses or something. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, just dragging and today was an adventure in Grand Prairie, where I live. At least one person in the comments who's joined us, hey Matthew, will totally
Yes.
understand what I'm talking about. We had a lovely series of protests today because we can't have masks and vaccines are just too far, so
Mm-hmm.
anyway,
Yeah.
we're gonna leave all of that out
Yeah.
there
Not.
though.
We don't need to take time on that. We need our time for Star Trek.
Absolutely.
This is our
Except,
catharsis.
there we go. um I'm gonna say I feel like maybe they are, so it was a bunch of truckers basically honking horns. I'm gonna say maybe they've discovered something we didn't know, and that if you honk your horn loud and long enough, it'll actually scare the virus away. So maybe
Mm.
that's what they figured. So I don't know. Anyway, maybe they're the true heroes after all.
No. Gonna go
That
with
was
a
said
no.
with many degrees of sarcasm.
Of
But
course.
anyway, like I said, Star Trek. We're here to talk about Star Trek. Welcome everyone in the comments. Welcome everybody who's watching later. We really do appreciate it. And I'm
Jesse's
seeing,
here. Hi, Jesse.
I was just going to say, I'm seeing some familiar names in the comments. And of course, Jesse as well. So welcome. Very, very happy to see you all here.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. Good turnout. I'm seeing regulars. We've got Thomas. We've got Marge. David, of course. Donnie Pearson. Hello. Yeah. Ricky. Hi. Joaquin. DJ Kitty Cat, excellent. Yeah. Wow, so many people. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. And if I missed you, I apologize. John Guppy, hello.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you gotta get John Guppy in there.
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah, so this episode, I think I was trying to remember who it was last week pointed out the anagram of the title. Um,
Yeah, who was that?
I
Was that
can't
TJ?
remember. It might have been DJ Kitty Cat, but yeah, to whoever it was, thank you so much because that is so clever. I love that. A moral star, an anagram for Tars Lamora, of course, which we return to in this episode. And yeah, very, very cool. So, first thoughts on this episode, Brandi. What did you think when you first saw this? If you can cast your mind back that far.
If I can cast my mind back to 8 days ago and then 2 days ago, because I've watched it twice, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's one of those episodes. Prodigy hasn't been one to make me cry every episode like Discovery tends to, but um, but yeah, we'll talk about it later. But when they all came out in the uniforms,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and then Janeway changed her uniform to match theirs, it's just like, ah! Yes, there was crying.
That was very cool. Very cool.
Yes.
I gotta say, one thing that happened recently in the news, of course, is Star Trek news, not big world news, but in Star Trek news, is that Playmates announced their the first wave of Star Trek action figures, and nothing announced for Prodigy yet, but I've heard from various sources that they're on the way and there is stuff coming from Prodigy. And after this episode aired, I don't care that I'm very shortly to be in my 40s. I want a shelf with all of that crew in those uniforms. Yeah, I want them all. I want those toys.
Yes, agree. I have tons of action figures, and I'm not ashamed of it,
Oh,
and
me
I'm older
too.
than you are, so there. Um, you're never too old for that.
Absolutely.
The only thing that bothers me about the first initial release of Playmates action figures is 1 woman, 1,
Yeah.
and why are we doing Wrath of Khan and stuff like that? I mean, hello, Lower Decks,
Yeah.
Picard. Maybe some little Strange New World previews. I mean, just why? Why are there only Saru and Michael from Modern Trek, and why are they in the old uniforms? Okay,
Yeah.
done. I'm done. I am not going to complain because we are getting figures,
Yes.
and figures are what I want. So, yes, it's not the lineup I would have asked for, but that's just me, and I'm just happy they're making them. But get on those
Yeah,
Modern
here.
Trek shows.
Yep. So folks out there, if you want to support that and prove to them that they're profitable, if and of course, if you want these in your collection, go out and grab those figures when they become available and pay special attention to the Saru and Burnham figures. I want those to sell like bananas because I want
Mhm.
more Discovery, more Picard, more of all of that stuff. So yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
I'm actually willing to buy the whole set because I just want them to be successful and I want
mhm.
more variety.
Absolutely. How cool would an Awoshikun figure be and a Detmer figure, right? Come on.
So
Come on.
good. And a grudge. Can we have a grudge? Can we have a grudge
Yeah.
and book combo?
Oh, for
I think
sure.
that would be fantastic.
If they
Just
ever do
me.
a book figure, which I hope they would do,
Oh, that
Grudge
would
would
be so
have to be an
good.
accessory in there for
Mhm.
sure.
Like you should have like 2 grudges, one that will just sit in his arms and the other which will hang around his neck. So, you gotta have,
Yes.
or
Oh,
just a posable grudge that could do either.
why aren't you on the development team? I never would have
Because
thought about like the
nobody
draped grudge. That's great.
Oh, dude, that is how you carry a cat. That is the best way
Mhm.
to carry a cat around. So, yeah, it's just, nobody's contacted me, but I am up for consulting anytime they want.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Um, are there Picard figures out? No, there's not been any announced yet, but in the initial press release last year from Playmates, they did say Star Trek Picard in their plans. So hopefully at some point something gets announced for that. For all the series, that would be great. So yeah,
Yeah.
not yet, but hopefully someday. Fingers
I
crossed.
just I want a Tilly. I want a Tilly action figure, and I want her to be Kirby. Do not make her the same
Yes.
size as other action figures.
Yeah, absolutely. I do like what they can do with the figures. Like if you look at Saru, he is noticeably taller than Burnham, which isn't always a guarantee when you're talking about tall characters versus short characters. Sometimes they just make them all the same size, but Saru is like a good head and a half taller than Burnham and has those like unique Kelpian hoof type feet. So that was great.
Yes,
So cool to see.
very
So
much so. Very
absolutely.
much
They
so.
could cheap out on that and they chose not to. So nicely
That
done.
would be helpful. That gives a lot of for good quality year future.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, Also, Joaquin says that they mentioned the anagram. So
Thank you.
there we go. Thank you so much. Excellent. All right. Yeah. Okay, so the anagram. The title of this episode was A Moral Star. And if you rearrange those letters, you can get Tars Lamora, which is the prison colony where the unwanted were all kept, where the diviner does his stuff. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Oh, here's a few people have put it up. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's pretty
yeah,
cool.
it
I
is.
like wordplay and stuff. So pretty
Me
happy with that.
too. But you know what I don't like? I don't like Wordle, and the next person who mentions it to me is going to get punched in the throat.
I got mine in 4 tries today, so I'm doing
I
okay.
don't care. I don't care.
I stopped posting about it though because I actually didn't get yesterday's, which was highly embarrassing. So anyway,
Well, you're supposed to guess a 5-letter word with absolutely no clues whatsoever in 6 tries, and you're embarrassed you didn't get it in 6 tries? It's a
uh,
dumb and nearly impossible game. Stop it.
definitely not impossible. I was 9 for 9 until yesterday, and this is
I
the
said
first one I've ever
nearly.
missed.
Nearly impossible. And yes, I did it a couple of times, and I'm like, I receive no joy from this. I'm not going to
Fair
do this
enough.
again.
Fair enough. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, so a moral star part one. One
Mhm.
thing I want to mention is um, I recently listened to an interview with one of the writers, Aaron J. Waltke, who joined us for the live show last week in the comments. That was very special. But uh, he was talking about the process of writing Prodigy and the writer's room, of course. All the writers have their hands in the pot for each episode, but each episode is generally credited to one writer who does kind of the main writing for the episode. What's cool about this episode is they credited the entire writer's room for the writing of this episode, which now makes it on record as the Star Trek episode with the most credited writers to it. So, um,
Nice.
yeah, so a little shout out here to Kevin and Dan Hageman, Julie Benson, Shauna Benson, Lisa Schultz, Nikhil S. Jayaram, Deandra Pendleton Thompson, Chad Quant, and Aaron J. Waltke, who all received credit on this episode. Very, very cool. I think that's neat.
Same here. Same here. And I did see a tweet earlier with him saying that they were, that everybody got credit on this episode, and that just warms my heart. It makes me feel good
Mhm.
inside because they're doing such great work that they all should get credit for it.
Agreed, absolutely. And um, yeah, I'm agreeing with all the kudos they're getting in the comments here for sure. Great stuff. So let's jump into this episode because there's a lot going on, a lot of setup for what's going to be, I think, a banger mid-season finale next week. I can't wait. um, but we start out with Dahl accidentally knocking the head off the dreadnought recreation, basically, and it beams this message from the diviner saying, return my ship, and in exchange, I'll release all of the unwanted. And if you don't, they're all gonna die, which is, the one thing that's gonna entice them to come back. So what a piece of
Yeah.
work.
This is the way the bad guys always get what they want. They don't threaten the people themselves, they threaten the people that they care about
Mm-hmm.
because, people are caring and it's used against them. And, I'm of the opinion of that it's like, isn't he gonna try and kill them all anyway? But that isn't what I would do either. I wouldn't just leave them there to their fate. I would still try to
Mm-hmm.
save them. But, every time somebody's like, oh, well, if you don't tell us this information, we're gonna kill this person. I'm like, you're gonna kill them anyway. Why should I tell
Mm-hmm.
you jack squat? So,
Yeah. And I do like that they acknowledge that he can't be trusted. Like they're not
oh,
just
yeah,
going to
yeah.
take him at his word for sure. Um, oh, David, see, this was my guess as well, and I didn't actually look it up. Bruce and I talked about it a bit on the podcast, Positively Trek. Was the most previous writer's credit on a single episode yesterday's Enterprise. There were 6 on that one. That was my guess. That was the one I remembered most clearly as having the most. But I mean, there are definitely a few with lots of writers, but that was the one that popped into my head as well. So interesting.
Very nice.
Yeah. So yeah. They have to decide, and I love that it's so clearly laid out in that graphic. And Zero points out, like, we could go back to the Federation and have Starfleet deal with this, or we could go back to Tars Lamora and try to rescue everyone ourselves. And they're, from this graphic anyway, they're pretty much right in between. I love that it's this so obviously put in front of them, this choice they have to make. And of course, because Dahl is the captain, it comes down to him and his choice. And I love that moment where
Mm-hmm.
he seriously considers it. He doesn't just go with his gut and make a snap decision. It's clear he's thinking about it. And, you know, you're wondering kind of in the back of your head, maybe why, you know, why would he hesitate to go help people? And when he articulates that, it's because if it was just him and putting himself at risk, it would be no choice. Like, he would just immediately go and help. But because his crew relies on him and he's responsible for them, that's adding some hesitation to him. I love that. I love the journey that character has made.
I agree, and that's exactly what I thought what he was going to consider when he just walked off without putting in his
Mm-hmm.
2 cents and making a decision. And I was kind of irritated with Gwen that she got upset with him, like, "Girl, he's got a lot of weight on his shoulders right now. Back it up."
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I understand her viewpoint because she believes that the choice is clear, but she doesn't consider what he's considering. So,
Yeah.
it was I love that scene between just the 2 of them, where
Mm-hmm.
they are just talking it out. It basically, like, she's the number 1. She's number 1 and he's the captain. And so they're discussing this not only on an emotional level, but on a level of what is best for everybody, what is the right thing to do, what is the smart thing to do. Sometimes they're not the same thing. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
liked that a lot.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that scene. And also the line where he says to her that this is a no-win scenario. It's their Kobayashi Maru. And she says, "Well, so what are you saying?" And he replies, "It can't be one of my half-baked plans." I love that.
Yeah, this time is gonna be fully baked. It's just
Mm-hmm.
do you ever call it a fully baked plan? I don't think we do. Just like we call, like we call a person unsavory, but we never call them savory. It's just one of those weird things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fully baked plan. I like that. Or maybe, yeah,
I'm just gonna go with it. Fully baked plan.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, we get there's a plan in the works. We're not told exactly what it is because
and I'm
uh
glad.
yeah, me too. We get shown the preparations through the power of montage. So
Love
uh
a montage in Star
oh
Trek.
man,
Love it.
absolutely. Yeah, with nice little just snippets of what's going on. And you see that this is why I feel it's so important to watch episodes twice,
Hmm.
because watching it the second time through, you see the little elements that come into play later and you don't know exactly what's going on. But for example, when they get to Tars Lamora and there's like, okay, time to go play dress up, Murph, and you're like, what's that about? And later on, what that's about. So those little moments pay off if you watch it again.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. It's like I paid attention to that. It's time to go play dress up, and I thought, what are they dressing up Murph as? And I couldn't even fathom what their
Hmm.
plan was. So I had no idea what Murph's part in it was going to be. And what Murph's part was, I did not see coming. I should have, but I did not.
I
And
have to admit sorry.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I have to admit, the first time I watched it, I had no idea either. Like, I didn't
Yeah.
see that at all.
Well, and the whole time that scene is going on after they've come off the ship, I'm like, well, where's Murph? What's going on with Murph? I want to know what's happening with Murph. And then it was close to the end of the scene when I realized, wait, Zero's not talking,
Hmm.
nor are they moving on their own. I wonder what that's about. Still didn't connect it until the
Yep.
reveal.
I'll do you even one better. It kind of twigged me a little bit towards the end of the first time I watched it that Zero hadn't been saying anything. But I didn't notice till the second time I watched it that first Jankum's like just kind of carrying Zero along, and then later Rock Talk is carrying Zero. I didn't even notice that the first time. And the
Yeah.
second time I'm like, oh, it's right there. I love that. That was great.
Yeah, they give us all the information, but we did not put it together. I doff my cap to you, Prodigy writers, because it
Mm-hmm.
is hard to get one by me after watching all of the murder mystery shows that I grew up on. So well
Definitely.
done. Well done, you.
Yeah, they did a great job. Before all of that, of course, we did kind of mention it earlier, but we should talk a bit about it. That reveal where Dal opens that storage area, and you see the Delta, and he's like, oh, gets an idea, and then the reveal of all of them walking out onto the bridge in their spiffy new, I'm guessing,
Mm.
cadet uniforms. That's my guess, but very, very cool. What a nice reveal. And of course made the cover photo for this live stream, because I couldn't resist. It's so gorgeous.
How could you not have that as the cover photo? You had
Mm-hmm.
to. I mean, even Zero in in the best semblance of a uniform that they could put on their metal body. Well done.
Yeah, they tried.
They
There was
they
an effort
definitely
made.
they definitely tried. I'm extremely proud of them for getting in the spirit of things. So, 'cause
Mm-hmm.
honestly, not like they have to ever go to the bath, so they just any way they want. So
Definitely.
good for them. Good for them. I loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the hologram Janeway in a show of solidarity, changing her uniform to match them. That was great. That was beautiful.
Yeah, I noticed hers was a bit different because she had like this red command stripe down
Yeah, a
both
little
shoulders.
red piping there or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah, and I'm pretty
Okay.
sure, like, if it was a science officer, there'd be blue. If there's engineering or ops, there'd be yellow. So
Mhm.
subtle, but still visible.
Yeah, that was very nice.
Yeah.
um, yeah, okay, Joaquin, I do want to call that moment out because that was great. Jenkins' style of calling out the plan as insane but being eager to participate is great. Jason Mantzoukas just is so good as Jenkin Pog. I've always been
Yes.
such a huge fan of him since I first saw him, and I just
Mhm.
love that he's a part of Star Trek. That's so great.
He loves that he's a part of Star Trek. He has said that this is his favorite thing he's ever done.
Oh,
So,
wow. That's
I'm so glad
huge.
to have you, Jason.
So glad. Oh, man. That is so Derek. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Oh,
Oh,
thank you for that. Thank you for that. Oh, good times.
no.
Yeah, can we
So,
can we talk about snacks and coffee just for a second?
yes, I've
Just for a
been
second.
seeing it come up in the comments. We do need to talk about that for sure.
Yes, because I was thinking about, um, what is the word I'm looking for here? I was thinking about when she was in stasis, basically, all those supposedly years that she was alone and building this device so that everybody could come back together in the same time. And I thought, did Janeway get her hooked on coffee as a child? I mean,
Oh,
Janeway does consider it the best organic suspension ever devised, but she's a
she beat the
kid.
Borg with it.
She did beat the Borg with coffee.
Oh, man. That was great.
Oh, oh, just with all their mugs of coffee and the snacks. It's just such a cute part of the montage. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was cute. Um, Patrick, I don't know why that line made me so laugh so much too. Where Jenkinpog's cargo transpo is a go go, and then just the silence, and he's like, cargo transporter is operational, Captain.
And you know what? We still don't know what position Rock has given herself. She talked about that in the last episode, how they
Hmm.
needed to discuss her position on the ship, but we still haven't been clued into exactly what her position is. So I'm
Yeah,
curious, is she the chief science officer or what's going on here? I just don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good call.
Mm.
Um, yeah. So, they return, of course, to Tars Lamora, and seemingly, of course, captured by the Diviner, and they make the deal, his ship for the protostar, so they have the Rev 9, Rev 6, what, I can't remember, what the Rev
13
12.
something?
I think
It was
12.
a double digit number. Was it 12, 13? I don't remember.
I think the Rev 12. I think that's what it
Rev
is
12,
now that
sure,
I
let's call it the Rev 12. We'll go with that
sure.
until someone tells us otherwise.
And unfortunately, or maybe it's all according to plan, uh, Gwyn is forced to go with her father as well, which to me that was kind of a moment, like a heavy moment, right, where
Mhm.
she's walking over to him and he's looking at the badge and says, do you have any idea what that uniform represents? And smashes the comm badge when they go off together. Just the staging, and I mean, I know it's all done in a computer, it's not actors on a stage or anything, but just how that was done, the staging of it, and the tight close-ups on the eyes of the Diviner, and all these great angles and stuff. I just thought that was one of the most well-directed sequences of Star Trek I've seen in a long time, which is saying something, because there's been some incredibly well-directed bits of Star Trek over the years.
Yes. Well, doing animation is not like staging people in animation is not any different than staging them in real life. You have to think about where
No,
they
yeah.
are in relation to the camera and all of these things, and to do it in animation has to be even harder. So
Hmm.
it was just beautifully done. And am I the only person that thought of Darth Vader in Cloud City when the diviner said that the deal had changed? The
Oh,
terms of the deal had
yeah.
changed.
That
Yeah,
was I that went
I
through my
thought of
mind as
that.
well.
Glad I'm not the only
Absolutely.
one. Getting Star Wars in my Star Trek again.
It happens. It's all
It's
good.
okay. It's okay.
um yeah, more rock coffee giggles. That's I like that.
More rock, period. More rock
Yes.
giggling over anything. Just more rock. Rock is my
Yeah.
favorite. I love them. I love them all. I love them all. But rock is, just that little bit ahead. Just
Yeah.
she's just really special.
Um, I also love this comment. I love that Dal is protective of Gwyn. Yeah, like how
Mhm.
far they've come there. And um but I also love that moment where I can't remember exactly what the diviner says, but something to do with the deal. And Dal says, no, it doesn't matter, Gwyn isn't going with you. And
Mm.
Gwyn says to Dal, no, it's my choice, and negotiates on her own behalf with her father. And I did like that moment. Like, I don't know, there's just something. I love the way they interact with each other, and whether or not by the end we find out maybe they were play acting that little bit of pathos there, but it was still very well done. Like, I really liked that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Gwen always knew that her father was going to demand that she come with him.
I figured that as
So,
well. Yeah.
yeah, but I think it was still hard for him to actually say it and for her to choose that. Even though it was part of I believe it was part of the plan, that still was really hard on both of them.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely, for sure. um I'm already jumping to the end in my head, but yeah, so they leave on the protostar, and of course, uh the diviner targets the power plant of the Rev 12 and destroys it, knocking out the gravity, and pretty soon the shields will fall and the oxygen will all be gone, and all that kind of stuff. And they're, everybody's kind of struggling and trying to hold on to each other and screaming. And I love the moment after the diviner leaves and they're all still like, there was some element of them screaming that I was like, this sounds a little bit over the top. Like, I don't know. And then Dell's like, guys, you could cut the act. They left. And they're like, oh, okay. And they're in total
Yeah.
control. I love that
It
moment.
it reminded me of live theater because I have done community theater. And the thing is, you have to make sure that you remain in character until you are fully off the stage, not drop your stuff before you are behind that curtain. And that's what that reminded me of, is they were going for it just in case.
Mm-hmm.
And Dal was keeping watch. He was waiting for the ship to go to warp. And so once that was, everybody else was still just doing what they were supposed to do, absolutely in character. And he's like, okay, you're off stage now. You're fine.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Patrick, by the way, you're not the only one to have thought of that, because I thought of that as well. So the smashed comm badge, and in a disaster, in order to be able to find bodies, apparently, and survivors, a smashed comm
Mm-hmm.
badge is programmed to transmit a distress beacon. I think that was the Voyager episode Time and Again, like very early season 1, they established that. And I thought of that too. I was like, that's interesting.
Well, they hold on it just a little longer than they would have after he smashes it and walks over it.
Yeah.
So I figured that's what they were going for, is kind of like winking at the people in the know and also showing the people not in the know who are watching the series, this is important. This is going to come back into play later.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So the other thing I want to say about the ending, with them all, it's an act and they're in control and they know they have a plan. We still don't know exactly what like the
Mm-hmm.
plan is, but we know that they have a plan. I really appreciated the decision to reveal that at the end of
Mm-hmm.
the episode, because I feel like the temptation would be there to have the cliffhanger ending with the ship leave and them holding on and screaming for dear life, and then that being a to be continued moment. And I love that the anticipation for next week's episode isn't how will they ever get out of this hopeless situation. Instead, it's like, ooh, what's the plan? What are they going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Because I love that. Like, because that's such a false thing to, and then because what would happen at the start of next week's episode is like, oh, hey, they're gone. Haha, we're actually in control. And be like, that feels really cheap. And
Yeah.
B, it's a show that's designed to be accessible for kids, sometimes very small kids, and you don't want them like to think all hope is lost for a week until their heroes come back next week. I like that they give you that bit of reassurance, like, don't worry, they're going to be fine. Wait till you see how they get out of this one. I love
Mm-hmm.
that that's the vibe at the end.
Yes, definitely. It's people are remarking about how the end seemed very sudden, and I think it's because the episode was probably filmed as one whole thing, and then they had to slash it at some point, and there really wasn't a good point to do it. And so the ending
Mm-hmm.
does seem abrupt. And even the first time I watched it, I felt like, okay, we're at like 23 minutes. This is the end. And sure enough, it just went black and the credits started. And I'm like, oh yeah. And it is abrupt. It
Mm-hmm.
is abrupt. And that's okay. Kids need to get used to it. Back in
Yeah.
my day, we had to wait 4 or 5 months to see what happened after Riker said fire.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some comments happening here, and I like this. So Thomas Hill says, I liked it when Dreadnought said to the diviner, it is a mistake to take Gwyn with them, and I know the diviner will regret teaching Gwyn how to control the ship's systems. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, okay. I want to address this first because I loved that moment with, the Dreadnought like giving the little side eye. And
A robot giving side eye. I love it.
yeah, and like there's these clues that like the diviner and Dreadnought are at odds a lot of the
Mhm.
time. Like there's these little bits here. And then um there it is. Matthew follows up with, it's just the latest in a line of things to make me think Dreadnought is more of a threat. I agree. I feel
Mhm.
like by the time all is said and done, either the end of the series or the end of the current storyline, or however they're piecing things together and however the show evolves, I feel like the Diviner is not going to be as big a threat as Dreadnought. I kind of
Right.
get that impression. And the other thing, and I just kind of realized this the other day, somebody was posting about all of the characters in the opening credits. We see, most of the characters that we see, including, Dahl, who's possibly the eyeball. We see Gwyn, we see um, Murph in like discombobulated form, and Zero. Uh, at a very prominent point in the opening credits, you see Dreadnought and you see his
Mhm.
eye, but at no point in the credits do you see the Diviner, which is
Nope.
interesting.
It is indeed interesting, and it's something that I noticed for a while now because I thought, "So Dreadnought's the big bad," which is pretty much what I've been thinking this whole time. He's just biding his
Yeah.
time until the diviner just really steps out of line. He's like, "Nope, nope, this is what we're doing." And I don't know what agenda he's following. I don't know if he's following the true agenda that was the plan from the very beginning until the diviner created a child and started messing with his emotions and he became less committed or something. I don't know, but Dreadnought is following a plan.
Yeah. And there's that line in the episode where we see the flashback to 17 years ago, and I can't remember the exact line, but it was when the diviner was wanting to create this progeny. And is it Dreadnought that says, um don't risk going against the directive or something like that?
Mhm.
And so it feels like there's some higher level directing them, and Dreadnought might be the like their representative, or the avatar of whatever this mysterious, whoever issued this directive is, or something like that, because it definitely
But
feels
didn't
like there's a level above them.
didn't in an earlier episode the diviner say that he built Dreadnought? Says something to the effect of, I didn't build you for this."
Oh, maybe, yeah.
So,
So maybe
yeah.
in the,
Yeah.
and this is going way out on a limb, maybe in like the Dreadnought's robotic mind, he's like, we have to adhere to this, and you're
Mhm.
now stepping out of line. Which in itself would be a very Star Trek thing. We've seen a lot of like
Yes.
computers that, the like the Nomad probe, right? Like, you are imperfect. We must eliminate, there's Star Trek strictures against robotic thinking a lot, which is interesting.
Yes. Interesting.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Interesting indeed. Well, I don't know. I don't have too much more to say about this because, of course, we're waiting to see how this all resolves next week. Brandi, any final thoughts on part one?
I actually do have a thing I want to bring up, and it's something that a lot of people have mentioned. When Janeway gets reprogrammed, basically,
Yes. Okay. Yeah, we didn't talk about that.
and comes back as Goth Janeway. Um, so and that's what pretty much everyone is calling her. And I understand that, and I here's how I feel about it because I identify as goth. I
Mm,
feel like it is perpetuating a negative stereotype of goth people because goth people are not evil, they're not bad, they're not angry. They're, you know, because they're heavy makeup and black lipstick doesn't mean they're a villain. And unfortunately, there's been so many negative
Mm,
stereotypes of Gothic people in media, in television, in movies. I can think of one positive example, and that was Abby Shuto on NCIS. She was
mm,
a positive stereotype and much more indicative of goth culture as a whole than anything else I have ever seen in media. And so I was disappointed that this is the message that children are getting, that people in dark eyeliner and
mm.
black lipstick are bad. So I do have a problem with that.
Yeah, that makes sense, and I hadn't considered that. That's interesting. Yeah, it's a very good point. So thank you for raising
Yeah.
that.
I know that nobody was thinking that when they
Oh yeah.
decided that was going to be her look. I don't think anyone did this intentionally or was mean-hearted. I just think that they weren't considering the effect
Hmm.
that it could have, is
It
all.
feels like it was almost the diviner trying to give his features onto her a little bit, just to
But
maybe.
he wasn't the one reprogramming her. Dreadnought was.
Oh, I the other impression I got from that scene was like they had already been on the ship before,
Oh, they
and
absolutely had.
and okay, let me finish though. The
Okay.
impression I got was they had been on that ship before, and those like parameters that had been programmed were like something they already had before. Like
Mm,
they reverted hologram Janeway back to the way she was when they were in control. That was just the impression I got. But so I thought maybe
mm.
like, I don't know, in my brain I was like maybe he reprogrammed her way before or something like that to be all Vonnecotish, but I don't know.
And unless they just deactivated her while they were on the ship. See, that's the thing. We don't know because they obviously got onto the ship. We saw that log footage.
Hmm.
So what happened? How did they lose the ship? Where the hell is Chakotay?
Hmm.
Someone needs to answer that question.
I'm sure we'll get there for
Yeah.
sure. Um, the other thing that I thought of, and this was the second time watching it with regards to the changed hologram Janeway, is we had just seen the scene where, the diviner is talking about that insignia and all that it represents, and he smashes it. The reprogrammed Janeway, is wearing a darker uniform and looking kind of supposedly sinister and stuff, with that Starfleet insignia unchanged on her chest. And like, I'm probably reading way too much into it, but I like the idea of the diviner having this hologram there with this insignia that he can like direct his rage at,
Hmm.
because it's always there reminding him of what Starfleet is and all of this stuff, even though she's ostensibly on their side now. I don't know. I just, like I said, I'm probably reading way too much into that, but I started thinking like, why would they leave that if it's such a symbol of, that he hates? And I was like, ooh, there's a tortured dark side to him or something. But
Well, I hate to tell you, but there's deltas all over that damn ship.
that too,
There,
yeah.
the screw heads are deltas. I mean, you're not going to escape that delta.
That made me laugh last week, by the
I
way. I thought
know.
that was the funniest thing.
Starfleet knows how to do branding. That's all I'm saying. They know how to brand.
I want to be the branding officer at Starfleet headquarters.
That would be the
Deltas,
best
deltas
job.
everywhere.
Oh, we could make this like a Phillips screw, but why don't we make it a delta? Ah, ah.
Uh, oh man.
Yeah, good
Oh,
times. So
yeah,
yeah, that's all I
so
have
great.
to say. I really do love this episode. It was just the goth Janeway threw me
Hmm.
because
No, I
I was
get
like,
that. Yeah.
my first response was, "Oh, not again."
No.
But yeah, again, I know that there was no malice or anything like that behind it. It was just, I think, lack of knowledge.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And yeah, like I said, I hadn't thought of that, but I appreciate, different perspectives and bringing those to attention, because I would never have thought of that otherwise. So that's a really good point. I really appreciate that.
No
Um,
problem.
Yeah. Man, when do we get a Murph toy? I just realized that. Anyway.
Right? A stuffed Murph would be the best. Rock has one. Why can't we?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have really many other thoughts other than I really enjoyed this one just as much as most of the other episodes I have. Like, uh, yeah, they're really hitting it out of the park with this. That interview I mentioned with Aaron Waltke, he said something that I just loved, and like I've articulated this before, but he put it perfectly. Where, they're not making a kids show, and they're not making a show for adults. They're making a show anyone can watch, and
Mm-hmm.
I love that. That's just perfect. That's exactly how I feel about this. So,
Yep.
I just can't wait to find out what happens next week. I'm just
Yeah.
so excited.
And I haven't gotten a screener yet, so I don't know either.
Ooh, I was gonna ask. I was kind of afraid to, but okay. So you haven't seen it.
No.
Ooh.
No, but you can be darn tootin' if I had gotten a screener, I would have watched it by now. I don't care.
Oh,
I have to know
I
it.
know you would have. I would have. Anybody would have. There's no way you wouldn't.
Yeah. So it's all good. I'm in the dark along with everybody else, and it's uncomfortable. It's not. I'm fine.
Well, when you're, I don't know how to turn that in. When you're being uncomfortable in the dark, where can people find you on the internet?
Nowhere. I am non-existent. No, I'm kidding. Of course, you can find me on the internet. On Twitter is the easiest place, which is Brandywine12, and that's where you'll find out all my other goings on, such as the other podcasts I do, like Bully Go will be coming back because
Ooh.
Strange New Worlds is gonna happen in less than 4 months, and so we're gonna get back in with that. Suzanne went through some moving house and a lot of things going on in her personal life, so
Mm.
it's all good. But and also Vedic Assembly about Deep Space Nine, obviously, with my friend Nick, who is under the moniker of Punk Rock Zoologist in the chat. And What the Future Holds, a Star Trek Discovery podcast, which I do with my husband Dave and Chris Littlefield. We have a great time, and we're on hiatus because this goes on hiatus. But oh my gosh, it's going to be less than 2 weeks, and it's going to be back, and just so much stuff. So just go find me on Twitter. And oh, I didn't give this a rating.
Yeah, I
I
forgot to
give
call
it.
for ratings. So
And they're giving them anyway. So yeah, Patrick stole mine, so I'm just going to go with it's because I don't really give numbers anymore. It's just a giant Murph with a protostar inside him is
mm,
definitely my
yeah,
feelings about this episode. The Murph surprise. The Murph surprise.
I like it. Yeah, that's
Yep.
good. Yeah, I mean ratings, like just everything would be 5 out of 5 or 4 point whatever out of 5. So I'm just gonna give this one really great cup of coffee that you drink at the end of a montage. So that's my rating for this episode. Um
Beautiful.
Erica, I was actually thinking of doing that one. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10. I haven't seen anything less than 100% yet.
Hmm.
Sounds like this one was a winner. Lots of spiffy uniforms and Trojan zeros.
Trojan zeros.
I like that. I like that. That's
Perfect.
great.
Perfect way to describe, because literally, hiding something in there that they were supposed to, well, in this case, they weren't trying to get it in somewhere, they were getting it out of somewhere. So reverse Trojan, but it still works. Just
Yeah.
wow.
Um, ooh, there's a hopeful rating there.
Yes, because we see the Cation, because of course they didn't forget about the Cation. How could they
Of
forget about
course.
the Cation? But they've forgotten about Chakotay. Where is Chakotay? Somebody tell me!
I don't think they've forgotten.
I
I
know they
think they have
haven't
something
forgotten.
crazy planned. That's my
Yes, I can't
assumption.
wait to find out what it is. It's just one of those burning questions that I've had since the episode where we saw Chakotay was the captain of the ship. So I want to know. I need to
No,
know if
I hear
Chakotay's
you.
okay.
Well, yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Kurtrats. That's Star Trek backwards for anyone who hasn't, it's just, that's easy. And of course, on the Positively Trek podcast that I do every week with Bruce Gibson, talking Star Trek news, and of course, a review of that week's episode, and the book club episodes that go out every 2 weeks. And yeah, the latest one was on the final 6 issues of the Star Trek Year 5 series, which has been amazing. That's a comic series from IDW. If you haven't checked it out, read it. It is so good. And the ending did not disappoint me. I really enjoyed it. So, yeah, thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next week for the exciting conclusion of the first half of season 1 of Star Trek Prodigy with A Moral Star Part 2. And until then, live long and prosper and stay safe. Wear a mask, get vaccinated, and protect your society, because that's what good Star Trek fans and good people do.